Well, it looks like we have a healthy number of attendees, so let's get started. This is why we're all here, right? So hello everyone, thanks for joining us for another amazing installment in Faceware's monthly webinar series. Each month we host industry professionals that talk through their expertise regarding facial animation and motion, as well as clients working on interesting projects. So just as a reminder for everyone, each of these webinars are shared on our YouTube channel. So if you miss a bit, please feel free to check out our YouTube page. And for me, please like and subscribe. But hi, I'm Dave. I'm the head of community here at Faceware. If you're on this webinar, you likely know that we're an award-winning facial motion capture and animation company where we provide facial animation and motion capture solutions. As the head of community, I get to work with amazing creators like our two panelists today. So quick intro, if you follow Faceware, you probably know Gabriella, aka Feeding Wolves. She's a virtual production artist specializing in metahumans. If this is your first time meeting Gabby, you should definitely check out our YouTube page. It's full of great content, as well as amazing technical behind the scenes videos, and maybe even some of our former webinars as well. Also joining us today is 3D character artist, modeler, senior designer, Tomas Sackmann, also known as Tom I. Sackmann, I believe, on Instagram. Please follow. Thomas has worked on a bunch of projects for Marvel, for Netflix, and was recently featured on Adobe Substance Magazine. So welcome, Thomas.
Thank you so much, today.
Glad to have you both. So today, Gabby and Tomas will be sharing their collaborative journey, bringing to life a character Enzo using the Mesh to Meta plugin, rig, and Tomas's original 3D character. Some of that facial performance was done using Faceware. So before I pass it over to our panelists here shortly, I just wanted to let everyone know that we're going to watch a brief snippet of the Enzo film today, get some technical details behind their collaborative efforts, and there will be a Q&A, so please feel free to ask away in our GoToWebinar chat box there, and we'll do our best to get through as many questions as we can here by the end of it all. So Gabby and Tomas, please feel free to introduce yourself, and we'd love to hear just a little bit about the origin of your project.
Sure. Thomas, do you want me to go first, or would you like to go?
You can go first. That's good.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gabriella. I am also known as Feeding Wolves. Like Dave said, I have been working with Unreal Engine and MetaHuman since their release. And recently, I had the pleasure of collaborating with Thomas thanks to the release of the Mesh to Meta plugin by 3Lateral and Epic Games. And if you haven't watched the short film we made over the summer, the film is about self-discovery and about awakening. And in a way, it represents my journey with Unreal, you know, waking up in this whole new world that I've fallen in love with, but also about character experiencing coming to life for the first time. And this was a metaphor for the Mesh to Meta plugin, which I believe is revolutionary, that it allows, you know, artists like Thomas, who can create these incredible pieces of artwork, these characters, and it allows you to automatically rig the face at a level of quality that is just mind-blowing. So I had a lot of fun working on this. I added a little bit of the, you know, Leonardo da Vinci Vitruvian Man, because during the process of making this, we worked with a lot of facial mocap data, body mocap data, and I happened to measure the male tall metahuman, and he just so happened to fit into the golden ratio, Da Vinci's golden ratio. So I thought that was amazing. I don't know if the metahuman team did that on purpose or if that was an accident, but I feel like this short film, like by bringing this character, Thomas's character, to life, he kind of ended up telling his own story. All the performances of him, you know, breathing for the first time and touching his skin for the first time, and all of these moments, I feel like Enzo kind of like we brought him to life, and he kind of, you know, told the rest of the story. But yeah, that's a little bit about me and my collaboration with Thomas. Thomas, would you like to go next?
Cool. Yeah, after that amazing introduction, you left it a bit difficult to me, but I will do my best. Yeah, I'm a 3D character artist and industrial designer, working at the moment in DNEC, working in film. I switched from industrial design to working in film and 3D, like specialized in 3D, like a couple of years ago after studying in TeamTech Training Center. It's an amazing school for this. And apart from this, I co-founded a small design studio called Aconcagua, and I'm an instructor in CH Circuit. That is the website where I created this character that we brought to life in the Enzo short film. And yeah, Gabby reached out to me a few months ago before this project for another project, and I was super busy and I couldn't manage to tell her yes. And then I'm sure most of you saw that project, that it was the Greek robot girl, and I didn't have time to do it. And then when I saw it released, it was like, oh, I would have loved to join her on that. So when she reached out for this project, it was originally just like a quick test that she wanted to do with the Mesh to Meta plugin. I said, okay, yeah, let's go for it. And we moved from doing like a really quick thing that I would just send them the head mesh from my course to her. That was not going to involve much of my time. So I said, yeah, for sure, I will join, let's do it. And then I got so involved on the idea, like amazing idea of Gabby, and we kind of cracked together a bit the story from there. And yeah, we ended with this film that I think it was like an amazing experience to work here. I learned a lot because I think we both learned a lot on this process, because it was all a matter of exploring these new tools and like trying to squeeze as much as we can and get us the best result as possible with the tools we have now. So, but yeah, it was great. It was great to work with you, Gabby, in this. Thanks for inviting me, by the way, because it was all, everything is in her head. I just helped out a bit.
Yeah, if you want to like take me up on that offer again to rework on the Greek robot girl, I'm down, you know.
We can go for it, yeah.
So yeah, Dave, are you there? Okay, so
I sure am. I think next we're gonna watch a quick snippet of Enzo, and so I think everyone is probably dying to see a little bit of that if they haven't watched it already, like 20 times, like I have.
Sure, I will go ahead and play the first clip. It's just a few shots from the film, and just a heads up, the audio might be just a tad bit loud, so I will go ahead and play that. And as soon as that's over, I will dive into playing I put together a video. We have a whole behind the scenes where we've broken down the entire workflow behind this short film. There was so much involved, from using the plugin to using the creator to testing the control rigs to capturing the body and facial performances. The next video I'll be releasing is how I fine-tuned the body and facial performances with the face control rig. And then we'll be, posting about how Thomas transferred all the textures from his original character. So everything's on there. But if you haven't checked out the most recent video on the facial motion pipeline, that is like an extended version of what I'm going to show. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and play the first video.
fåfam de båda himme efter oss.
Chills.
Okay, so thank you. All right, wonderful. And let me go ahead and show the other video we're going to present, which kind of gives you everything in a nutshell, which was actually really hard to kind of like edit together.
It was a long process to compress in such a short time.
So yeah, if you think I might be going just a tad bit quick in explaining the whole facial motion process, please check out the behind the scenes videos where I have plenty of time to go through everything and share this entire process with you. So I will go ahead and play that video next.
With the release of the Mesh to Meta plugin by 3Lateral and Epic Games, what would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a person scanned, customized, fully rigged, and brought to life as a digital human at the level of quality only studios could afford is now at the artist's fingertips for free. This allowed me to collaborate with 3D character artist Tomas Sackmann in order to create a short film in Unreal Engine 5 by bringing his original character to life as a MetaHuman. Tomas created the original character for his course on CG Circuit, where he walks you through his entire process on how to create a realistic human from scratch, using ZBrush, the ZWrap plugin, Maya, Mari, Mudbox, and Substance Painter. Using the Mesh to Meta plugin, we brought his head mesh into Unreal, ran the MetaHuman identity solve, and within minutes we were able to see his original character come to life in the MetaHuman creator. We used the creator to customize the hair, the brows, the eyes, and even the teeth. And while Tomas worked on transferring all of the textures and body morph from his original character onto the MetaHuman, I worked on capturing all of Enzo's performances. His body and facial performances were captured using the Mark IV HMC by Faceware, and with the Extends Manus and Faceware integration, I was able to record all of the performances simultaneously, making syncing everything up in Unreal extremely easy. To stream the facial performances into Unreal, using the Glassbox Live Client plugin, all I had to do was add the Faceware Live component to Enzo's blueprint and assign the motion logic blueprint to his face. This particular motion logic blueprint, created by Norman Wang from Glassbox, has been created specifically for MetaHumans, and each pose has its own corresponding curve so that when the data streams in, it streams in through these curves, and these can be modified and tailored to your talent. With this already set up, I am able to see Enzo come to life instantly, and I create a profile by using the multiplier and motion effects inside of Faceware Studio so that I'm able to match up my expressions with Enzo's as close as possible. To record my data in Unreal, I'm going to use some footage I captured with my DSLR camera in order to demonstrate that you can get great facial motion data even without an HMC, as long as you take the time to create a profile and pay attention to your lighting and framing. With my facial motion data captured in Unreal, I'm then able to focus on using the MetaHuman face control rig in order to add details on top of the existing animation so that I can take the realism of the performance a step further. Now Tomas and I have an in-depth behind the scenes playlist on YouTube where we walk you through all of the steps we took along our journey.
Okay, we're back.
Yes.
So again, if anybody would like a little more in-depth into all of these processes, we have the entire behind the scenes. We're releasing a video once a week, just because we learned so much throughout this process that instead of just showing you, what we did, we kind of want to give you an idea of how we did it, because this was kind of a learning process for us. So if anybody's embarking on the same journey, hopefully you'll find that we've included some tips and techniques that we found were really helpful.
Yeah, we're really all excited to see the BTS behind the in-depth process. So we have some questions streaming in, which is really exciting. Please feel free to go as in-depth and as technical as you'd like. But yeah, just broadly, Tomas, like what was your reaction like the first time you saw your character that you created, Enzo, come to life with facial motion data?
It was really amazing. Until now, I always, when I created characters, I had them static. I rendered myself and everything, and I always had that in mind, that the process of bringing to life my character would be like to rig it, to animate it separately and stuff like that. And when like in a matter of like a week, the character was already talking after Gabriella took it over. It was like, wow, it's amazing. So it was really great. There were a few challenges in the process on that that we can talk a bit in a bit about that. But yeah, it was great. It was great. It was like really nice to see and surprise, and it's really it's amazing to see how this is going and how good the technology is improving in this stuff. And yeah, the future looks really appealing for all what is facial capture and facial expressions and stuff like that. So it's great.
Very cool, very cool. And I guess kind of going, like kind of bouncing off of that, like how do you feel about this new technology, Mesh to MetaHuman, the plugin, along with the facial motion capture solution? And how do you think it'll affect your industry and influence artists like yourself?
I think it's breaching, it's like closing the gap between individual artists and big studios at the moment, because this is something, as Gabriella said in the intro video, is something that before it would cost like a lot of money to get to something like this, and a lot of time, and now we can get like super quick. And you see people all around, like Instagram or whatever, like artists that they were always like amazing artists and they do amazing sculptures and stuff like that, but they were always static. And now you start like testing this, like you start seeing artists testing this stuff, and I think that's amazing. It gives like a lot of more power to the artist in some way, and I think again it's a technology that is improving with time, but it's going fast, and I think it's looking great at the moment. We can talk later about like when we take the raw data that Gabriella that Gabi took from Faceware, we had to tweak some stuff, especially because we wanted to not make Enzo look like Gabi, and the data that we got from Faceware was so loyal to her face that we had some extra work to make her look a bit more masculine and a bit more like matching the character expressions that we wanted to have. But yeah, it was amazing to work on this.
And Gabby, for you, I guess my question as like a bona fide facial motion and animation capture expert at this point, and as someone who works with facial capture like all the time and specifically real-time data, did you notice anything about the face that you didn't know before working on this project?
You know what? I'm going to kind of go back a little bit with Thomas. When I had originally reached out to him, I was like, I just wanted to get the mesh to meta. I just wanted to see what it looked like and just test it out. And I don't have a face scanner. You know, I know now you can totally do it at home with your iPhone. But originally the whole idea of like, you know, like what I envisioned was like the statue of David coming to life. You know, I like Da Vinci and Michelangelo, and that's originally what I kind of envisioned. And with the head mesh that Thomas gave me, like I saw a picture of what the original one looked like. I was like, oh, okay, you know, I'm like, you don't have time to make me a custom one, do you? And once I ran it through and I just saw like in the creator, I just saw it like moving, and then I brought it into Unreal and I just tested out all of the entire face control rig. And I was like, you know, kind of fascinated by like, you know, just the way like he kind of chiseled the face, and it was just a beautiful face. Like I really like, I loved working on Enzo's facial performance because he's like, he's a gorgeous character. So I kind of like, I became really attached to working with the face. And then when I started working on the body and facial performances, I had so much fun. You know, like I use a lot of different cameras inside of Unreal. I do all the cleanup in Unreal, and I can set up cameras and like play with the lighting. And it was just a really like, it was an incredible experience because he all like the MetaHuman face is so well set up. Like when they rigged it, they did such a good job that all I had to do was just, you know, get the motion logic blueprint in there and just stream the data in. And, you know, somebody said the other day, like, my setup seems a little complicated. It's actually really, really simple. So yeah, I just, you know, like I got to focus on, you know, since the whole setup is so simple, I got to focus on, like what Thomas said is, I by nature smile a lot. And when I did the profile for Enzo, you know, I wanted to match it up exactly. But then I was like, you know what, maybe Thomas is right. You know, when we started looking at the facial performances, maybe Enzo is not, you know, like a smiley, you know, person. You know, it really like forced me to kind of try to figure out who the personality of the character was. And Thomas knows the character because he literally created him from scratch. So yeah, I was able to use the reduce, you know, the multiplier when I restreamed the data in by, you know, kind of like lowering those the expressiveness of those particular poses. So yeah, this was a learning experience, I think.
Yeah, and there were really subtle things on the facial expressions that we went through, and I think that was one of the things that took more time to do at the end of the process, especially in that in the last speech when he's talking. I think that was the most challenging one, but it was the subtle things of like, oh, maybe the lips are like running a bit too much out, and like they're getting like a bit too thick, or when you smile, like the corner puller stuff, and like how your like the corner of your lip goes like a bit too high, like is 1 millimeter maybe, right? Is that subtlety on the face that does it the thing that is really difficult in facial expression stuff. And I think I work maybe in checking what Gabriella was doing and giving her feedback, but she did all the magic there. She was like amazing on getting that transition between her expressions to like Enzo's expressions that should like be similar in some way but different in another one. So I think that was really interesting, and I think it was a learning curve for both of us in that way.
Yeah, and kind of thinking about that learning curve and kind of the testing process. I guess Tomas and Gabby, for you both, like, were there any challenges specifically that you had to use atypical software or solutions in order to make, you know, Enzo come to life?
Well, from my side, one of the main things that we had to do at the beginning of the process was to transfer all the textures from my original mesh to the MetaHuman one. And for that, what we did is we explained this a bit more in detail in the behind the scenes, but we had to bring the MetaHuman mesh and our my mesh from the CC Circuit course to ZBrush, and we use a software that is called ZWrap. That basically what I had to do is, first of all, to match both meshes in the same, not vertex position, but in the same position in the world. So both meshes had to be like wrapped on top of each other. And for that, we use a software called ZWrap. There is a wrap free that is really similar one, but ZWrap is for ZBrush. And then with that, I had to bring that to Matbox, and I did a texture transfer in Matbox. That I think that's something that is not, it's a tool that is not widely used. We tend to do texture transfers in another software because there are a lot of really amazing software in terms of texturing, but Matbox is particularly good for really fast in texture transfer. So basically we have like two meshes that they were in the same position in the world, that they have completely different UVs, and I transfer it in Matbox itself. And then we had to do the same with the body, and we had to do also like not only texture transfer. Originally, we were planning to do just the head again. So it was just a texture transfer. The MetaHuman was going to do everything. And then we realized that we wanted to show the entire body also. And it was not only that this was really a big challenge. It was not only entire body, it was a naked body. So what happened with one of the biggest challenges that we had, it was the seam between the head of the MetaHuman and the body, because for MetaHumans to make the character work in real time, there is a difference in resolution between the head and the body. So you have one UDEM for the one UV domain, or one UDEM for the face, and one UDEM for the entire body. and that makes that there is a difference in resolution, and there are two different meshes. So the problem that we started having is usually when you see MetaHumans, you see it with close, so all that is covered. And what we had is like, oh, now we have this massive seam here that we have. For example, if you have already a difference in resolution between the normal map of one of the head and the body, you are going to see a difference even if there are no seams. So it was an entire challenge to make that seam disappear. And we work using morph targeting, the body from the circuit to the MetaHuman, and then we had to go through an entire process to make sure that that was not visible. And Gabi did an amazing work in the look dev of this, like adjusting the material from both of them. Like there are slight differences between the head and the body. And it's not that we just apply a material and we apply the textures and that's it, because that was not looking good. We had to adjust, for example, the roughness between both of them. We had to adjust it manually so they would match the best as possible. And we did some tricks also in the lighting and stuff to manage to get it over and make it look good. But yeah, there was, again, like a really learning, like a steep learning curve with that. It was tough, but it was really interesting to learn all that process. Yeah.
I just want to say that originally this started as a test where I was like, hey, let me just see your head mesh. And I was like, hey, guess what? Like, it's alive. Like, look at it move. How cool is this, right? And the moment like Thomas saw this, he's like, I wonder if we can actually just transfer the textures. And then like, you really got into it. Like, you really got excited about this because, you know, the idea of like, oh, wow, we can actually bring the original character to life now. And, you know, I was just going to leave the skin textures alone. I was just going to like focus on the performance. And then you're like, why don't we see if we can just transfer the original character to this MetaHuman? So it became this whole other process. And during that process, I learned so much. I noticed the seam and I was like, Thomas, we have a problem here. And, you know, everything he just said, I had to learn because I was, you know, you mentioned earlier, I'm a facial expert and I've only been doing this. I've been using Faceware for about a year and a half. So I don't come from like a 10-year Maya background or a studio background. Like I am, you know, I'm an artist who utilizes a variety of tools to tell stories and to create educational content for others who are, you know, on the same journey and the same path as I am, which is, you know, to continuously tell stories using Unreal and MetaHumans. So yeah, I don't consider myself an expert at this because there's so much I'm still learning. But I believe that by using the hardware and using the software, it does kind of push you to, you know, want to get the best results. And in the video that I showed, I started with DSLR data. And you really can get great data, you know, even if you don't have a fancy toolkit, you can, as long as like, you know, you really, really want to tell the story bad enough and you're willing to, you know, go that extra mile to do what it takes to like get it to look the way you want it to look. Like Thomas, when we were like rendering the final short film, like your wife, you know, went into labor and like we became so obsessed with this project because as artists, you know, we're invested in it. Once we get invested in it, once I'm like, wow, I'm really pushing, you know, the facial performance and I'm playing a guy and I'm like learning all about like new expressions and Thomas was like, you know, really invested in like seeing the best version of his character as a MetaHuman come to life. So this was an amazing learning experience. For both of us.
I still don't know if this was really like this or you tricked me from the beginning and you knew when you asked me for the face, you knew we were going to end doing all this stuff and working for a few months on it.
I wanted to go with the Michelangelo. I was going to ask you like, hey, can you like sculpt me Michelangelo, the statue of David? And then you're like, I'm so busy. Like, oh, tell me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
I'll just read whatever head you have.
Technically, Enzo and my daughter were born the same day.
They totally were.
Literally, we released the video the same day that my daughter was born, and I need to say a big thanks to my wife, my family for having the patience, because like while she was in the last weeks of pregnancy, I was like extremely busy, like working on this stuff also. So yeah, big thank you to them also. Yeah,
I thank her too because we literally spent the entire summer, like you were doing your work and I was every single day inside of the Enzo project working on the mocap data, and we communicated through Discord. Like that was our form of communication. We sent files through Discord. We did everything on Discord, and you know, I was like, hey, you know, the textures are this and this, and you'd be like, okay. An hour later, I'm like, wow, like thank you. And then I test them instantly. I'd send him screen recordings, and he'd be like, he's like, it looks good, but I think I need to do a few more tweaks to this. And I'm like, okay, you know, like you just keep doing what you're doing. So yeah,
Well,
it was amazing.
I think that's something cool to bring up. That is what we were talking before about, like maybe how we follow our own pipeline on this. As again, we are not the studio. We're just two artists that we joined up to do this, so we didn't have a proper pipeline like a studio would have for this. So basically, what we did is our main sort of communication was Discord, where we had the chance of like, and I think we were transferring files between like Google Drive and Dropbox. But the good thing was like this process allowed us to work both at the same times. So for example, at the moment that I was reworking the face or transferring the textures or doing the morph target, Gabby could keep working on her stuff, right? On the animation and everything, on all the mocap data and everything. And then I would send my stuff and she would like just re-import that or remorph for example, the mesh. She would remorph the mesh on the file that she had in Unreal, and everything will keep working. So in most of the times, we never had to stop because the other one was doing something different. We could work both at the same time. And that, I think, it was one of the things that allowed us to get this project done in like, I think it was a matter of like a window of 2 months or something like that, while like we were both doing, like, for example, I was working full time apart from this. So it was just in like my night or morning hours that I could manage to get stuff done. So I think it was a cool thing to have it in that way.
Yeah, I love that scrappy mentality. We have a question from the audience from Edith here for Tomas. Speaking of textures, was the pore level detail on the body already there, or was that added from the CG circuit mesh? And if it wasn't there, would it be worth using a pre-existing scan with texturizing detail maps, wrapping that around the body? Thank you, Edith, for the question.
It was thank you so much for the question. It was a mix. So basically what we did is we transfer the textures that we have from the CG circuit mesh. But then apart from that, there is a bump map in the MetaHuman that has some like pore details there. So what I did is I did with all the textures. Basically, I did all the texturing in Substance, right? For this. And what I did is I imported the base material from, because I had the same UVs, right? I was texturing on the MetaHuman mesh. I imported the textures from the MetaHuman, the diffuse, the normal, the bump, and the roughness. And I had that as a base. And what I did is I imported my textures that I projected from the CG circuit course. I had to modify them also. So I had to go back to my original Substance file for that course and modify them to match. I had to remove the paint, for example, and some other stuff. And when that was done, I had to, in the new Substance file, my CG circuit textures were on top of the MetaHuman. And basically what I did is I managed with opacity and with like masking out areas to get the areas that I like more from the MetaHuman, like to be visible, and the areas that I like the most from my CG circuit course. For example, hands and feet, what we did is we use mostly the MetaHuman stuff because of how the course evolves. It's a lot about the human anatomy, but I didn't go really in detail in terms of the textures of the hands and feet in my course. So the MetaHuman were much better. So what I did is I masked out that. I made sure that all the texture were like matching properly in terms of value and stuff like that. The same with the pores and stuff. And then I just did some hand painting stuff on top to get that there. So it was, yeah, basically it was a mix between both. I think it depends what are you trying to achieve. I think what we had with Enzo was like, it's kind of an extreme of a human, let's say. MetaHumans, they're great for like a how to explain it, but like a standard human would be okay, but we were going to go really close to like hands and feet and stuff like that. So we need a bit of that extra detail. And yeah, I think the combination of both is the best, I would say.
Love it.
I hope that answered the question.
I think it did, but if there's a follow-up, please feel free to add it to the chat box here. Next question from Bradley. I believe this is for Gabby. Did you have to build models or additional shapes to capture the expressions you wanted, or did you manipulate the default shapes that ship with MetaHumans? And can you add additional blend shapes to MetaHumans, or are they locked off out of the box?
Let me answer the second one first. So we were originally going to create some blend shapes for the muscle contractions on his body. Like to add, like Thomas was like, he's like, if I have time, we'll add additional morphs to the body, so that like when he, you know, steps towards the statue, you know, we can kind of see a little bit of like the stomach contracting and stuff. We just didn't have time, you know, like you're having a baby, like I'm starting another project. So yeah, we really wish we had, but MetaHumans use blend shapes, like they use those. So you can absolutely add those. And I do have to give a special thank you to Sergio, who walked us through this. He's a MetaHuman artist, and he kind of helped us with the body morph, because at first we're both like, how do we do this? And he took the time to like kind of send us screen recordings and be like, okay, this is how you do it. Here, he showed me the whole blueprint process, and I have a video I will be showing that and giving a huge thank you to Sergio. But you can absolutely add blend shapes. As far as the face is concerned, you don't really need to, unless you're going for, it depends on what your MetaHuman looks like, or if you're using the new Mesh to Meta plugin to create something very kind of like bespoke. But the facial rigs themselves are so well made, they're kind of difficult to break. And the way the motion logic blueprint is set up, now I do cover this in the face mocap pipeline, is they utilize curves in the motion logic blueprint that I'm using, that I use the Glassbox plugin, and I kind of explain why I use that. Because I have a ton of software running, I have a ton of hardware running, I don't want to worry about managing a lifelink source at the time. I just like to plug everything in and see it working. But you can modify those curves. So I also show that there's, if you use the Live Client plugin, there's something called a Live Client control profile. And this is fairly new, where you can access those curves inside of the editor in Unreal while you're streaming your face data in. And I explain why you would want to use these. So for example, the eyes wide, my eyes seem to hyperactivate the solver. So when the solver, the tracker in Faceware, you know, sees my eyes like normal, it's like this on the MetaHuman. And if I use the multiplier to decrease that, I lose that range of motion. So I can use, you know, this profile to go in and say, hey, you know what, like this is probably going to hit that if I want to look surprised. So for right now, my base, you know, expression is, you know, not that value. I kind of explained it a little better in the video, the previous video I recently posted, but you can absolutely manipulate the expressions while the data is streaming in. That's what's amazing about using a real-time solution. Faceware has, I believe, in my opinion, the best facial motion real-time solution with MetaHumans, and you don't have to build the blueprint yourself, but you can absolutely modify it. And if you do want to add blend shapes, there's a few options you do have that are non-destructive. I would say the mesh morpher would be one of them, but now that we have the Mesh to Meta plugin, you know, you can make those changes. Like I have a character whose lips are kind of like they kind of go out a little extra, kind of like a Joker smile. And I'm able to make those tweaks inside with the face control rig. But what if I just want my character like that all the time? I can take those modifications, you know, and create a new version of him using this plugin. So yeah, you have a lot of options now, which is crazy.
Looks like we're getting a lot of thumbs up in the chats, and that looks like Brad thanks you for that nice and detailed explanation. Another question, it looks like we have from the team here, from Dirk. So when you did your motion capture performance, did you capture all of that data at once, and what FPS did you capture that data at? Thank you, Dirk, for the question.
Absolutely. So I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to capture. I was working the last fellowship, so I didn't have a lot of time. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Like I'm gonna like, you know, capture some mocap data. And I just put the gloves on, the helmet on, the suit on, right in here in this room. I kind of had images of like how I'm supposed to look when I do these performances. I used a male character from a film, like TV show that I love. And I usually put the helmet on first and stream like the live data into Unreal onto the MetaHuman. That way, like if I need to position the helmet, the way it's framed, the way the light is hitting, for example, my lips, if you're wearing like lip gloss and it's very, very shiny, you notice that like the tracker in Faceware kind of gets confused and it's like, well, where is your lips? Like, so I do that first. It's kind of like my version of calibrating the helmet. And then I put the gloves on, then I put the suit on, I calibrate. The whole process takes maybe 15 minutes. And then, you know, I hit record in Extends in MVN, which sends a trigger to Faceware. So then the body and face data is recorded at the same time. So I end up with two animation files. They're the exact same length. And for the dialogue, I captured some DSLR data that also captured the audio. The frame rates for the face data are 60 frames per second. Same with the DSLR reference video, 60 frames per second. And then the body data is captured at 240 hertz. So that way, when I drop it into a sequencer and I start baking it to control rig at a sequence of like 60 frames per second, I'm giving Unreal plenty of frames to be able to interpolate that data. So I'm not losing any quality.
Thorough as always, lovely, thank you. In the vein of some technical questions here, without getting too far into any kind of uncharted territory here for Tomas here, a question from Samantha: if we create a character in, let's say, an 8K resolution, what would be the best hardware requirements for developing that PC?
I'm not sure if she means like 8K resolution for the face or like for the UDEM of the face. The character from MetaHuman, it comes with 8K, so it's like you can work from there with that. What we did is like you have two main softwares. That one is Mari and the other one is Substance 3D Painter to do textures like this. I work with both, and for this character I work with both because the face was originally done in Mari, and then I transferred it to Substance and I kept working on Substance with that. What Mari gives you is a bit more, you have a bit more power to work with higher textures like this, like 8K. But in Substance also you can paint the maps in Substance. You can import 8K maps in Substance and you can export it in Substance. What I don't think is you can pre-visualize in Substance itself the texture in 8K. But yes, you can export that texture. So for example, if you bring like a texture from Texture XYZ or something like that, for example, that is 8K, you can still import it in Substance in 8K. You can work on that and you can use procedural stuff there and then you export it in 8K. Because if I'm not wrong, Gabby, we exported all the maps in 8K, right? Like the body and the face were both in 8K.
Everything was high resolution. But what computer specs would you recommend? Are you a PC, Mac? What do you?
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. Maybe I took the answer to a different way, but yeah, I would say I have a Mac for. Sorry, I have a Windows for that. I feel that is much more compatible with like all the different software, especially because, for example, I work with like Maya 3D Max and stuff like that, and it works better in Windows, in my opinion. And in terms of hardware, I would say a good graphic card at the moment, it's like definitely a good way to go, especially if you're onto texturing. If you work in and also in Unreal, right? But if you work in Substance, if you have like a really good graphic card, like now the 4000 generation, like would be ideal. I still need to upgrade my stuff, but that would be great because it allows you to work more in real time in terms of visualizing that stuff. Good RAM is always good, like 64 or 128. And if you will render offline instead of like what we did in Unreal, that it was with a graphic card, like yeah, a good CPU always help, right? So unfortunately, the answer is like the best you can get in terms of RAM, graphic card, and CPU. It's always what it gives you the best result. But I would say like to have a good graphic card today is like it really helps.
No gatekeeping over here. We're giving you guys the full truth here, which is as the best that money can buy, it sounds like, Tomas, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's like that. Yeah.
A question from Aaron here about the facial animation pipeline. I think this is probably for Gabby. Why do you use Faceware Studio instead of the Analyzer Retargeter pipeline? Did you try Faceware Portal for this project, or are you planning to use it for the next one?
Great questions. So I am an all-in-engine virtual production artist. I do everything inside of Unreal. Like I said, I don't use Maya. I don't use any of those other DCCs because I'm able to do everything entirely in Unreal. And because MetaHumans have control rigs, I'm super spoiled with MetaHumans. I don't have to ever leave Unreal, ever. So I let all the texture work. I let Thomas deal with that. I'm like, okay, if you could just get this to look this way, that'd be great. But with Studio, I can just stream in my data live onto the MetaHuman. I can see what it looks like. I can play with the lighting. I can play with the camera angles. I can actually see what I'm doing. And if I need to make any changes to the performance as it's streaming in, I can do those on the spot while I'm in the scene that I'm working in. So that's why like I find it really important when I'm streaming the data, and I always look at it through a camera lens that I plan on using. Like the face is gonna look different if you're using a 30mm versus a 50, and I wanted to go really close. So I'm, putting the camera where the face is, what I'm gonna be focusing on. Like if I'm focusing on the mouth for the dialogue, like I have 3 cameras looking at the mouth from 3 different angles with the textures assigned, the 8K textures. Like I've got everything of like where it's at the final pixel, what I think it's gonna be. And I can make those changes on the spot and say, oh, you know what, there's like a little bit of this going on there. Let me just like, you know what, I can either re-record this, which I don't, usually have to do, or I could just make some modifications right now. And that way, when I bake it to the control rig and I go ahead and add like, the pupil dilation and the neck controls for the breathing and the jaw forward and the chin compress, when I add those, I'm just adding them on top of the actual data that I captured. And if I have to fix any little pops or breaks, with the curves, I can do that. But that's why I love Faceware you guys have spoiled me. It's just plug, play, spend time working on your profile, and yeah, focus on the creative parts of it. For me to use like Analyzer and Retargeter, I don't need to, I can just like enable the plugin and it's in the render engine that I'm gonna use. I don't have to like import it. As far as the portal is concerned, so I am grateful enough to have gotten the dialogue, Enzo's dialogue scene, accessible with the portal that was recently released by Faceware. So I will be including that, the results. And I'll kind of be showing the before and after of what the raw data looks like from Faceware for the dialogue performance through the portal. And that way you could kind of see the difference between the way the raw data looks like and how I was able to transform it with the face control rig entirely in Unreal. So yeah, stay tuned. That's the next video.
Big things coming. Love it. If you're interested in any of these tools, please feel free to reach out at sales@facewaretech.com. Real quick plug. As we wrap up here, we'd love to know what's next for this dream team individually or potentially collaboratively. Tomas, what do you got going on next? Anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, honestly, I think we were talking with Gabby of like doing a next project in some moment. We still don't know what it is. We will definitely work together again soon. As I mentioned before, I just had a daughter and I'm pretty busy, and so I'm going to take some time until jumping in a personal project again, because I literally don't have the time at the moment. I need to finish some stuff, professional stuff first. But yeah, definitely we want to work together with Gabby and something maybe a bit different. than this, but yeah. Let's see. We need to discuss it with Gabi still. But I have some ideas, and I think she has some ideas also. So
And don't forget your CG circuit course that is still available now.
Yeah. I'm still working on the future CG circuit courses. I just released the last one that is like from this character, like all the assets and stuff like that. The next one will be grooming and look dev. So yeah, still working on that stuff. Like it would be great if you guys can take a look at that. I'm always open for feedback, what like people that did the course and stuff, what they think. But yeah, I think that's how it is. Yeah.
Very cool. What about you, Gabby?
I will be continuing to post all of the behind the scenes for Enzo. I'm loving that I'm able to like share these, share all the things that we learned. So yeah, I've got the facial motion cleanup video, the body motion cleanup video. Everybody wants to know how I got the fingers to touch the arm. It was actually really simple. I'll have a video with all of the texture transfers from Thomas, how we built the Vitruvian structure thanks to Pixel Urge, how the Vitruvian man was created, the statue using Da Vinci's, original dimensions. So once the behind the scenes is done, I'm really trying to turn these into educational videos so they're useful for the community versus, me and Thomas and I just talking about how fun this project was to work with. So yeah, stay tuned. I will continue to produce creative and educational content that will help the community while showcasing all of the incredible tools that Unreal, Epic, Faceware, Extends, all of the motion capture tools that I genuinely love using, which is why I love promoting them. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And Thomas, I already have the idea for the next one. So when you're not busy.
We need to talk
Watching
about
the
that.
magic happen right before my very eyes. That's amazing. Well, thank you, everyone. We want to give a big shout out to our panelists today. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedules and all of the contributions you make to this awesome animation community that we have that's only growing. So thank you again for your time, and thank you for all the attendees that joined today. We'll see you guys in a month.
Thank you so much for inviting us, guys. It was great.
Thank you. Before I say goodbye, I just want to give a special thank you to Simon K. I really didn't want to end it without saying thank you to Simon. He reached out to me based on my last webinar that I did and sent me a bunch of really amazing feedback. And I just wanted to say that I used all of the tips you gave me, Simon, except for the time code, and I have reasons for that. But it's based on these webinars that I get incredible feedback from people, and I'm still learning. So thank you so much. Thank you, Faceware. Thomas, thank you. And it was a pleasure.
And I believe Simon Habib for the iDart resource as well, right?
Yes, I put that in my notes. Simon Habib helped me with the iDarts. Can't forget that.
We love Simon. Well, very good. Any last minute shout outs for either of you? Please speak now. Shout out to Tomas's family, as it sounds like as well.
Yeah, again, yeah, that's a lot of patience.
Very cool.
Yeah,
well, thanks
thank you everyone for showing up. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.